Unless this video marks your very first encounter with the internet in general, I'm sure you're well aware of the AI infestation currently happening on the web. Going online has turned into somewhat of a game of deduction. Is this person replying to my Twitter post real, or am I interacting with one of millions of bots created to engagement farm? Was this piece of fan art drawn with real human hands, or is it a reanimated, sewn-together corpse made from the work of thousands of actual artists? Generative AI has seeped into the cracks of every consumable on the internet, and it has done so alarmingly fast. I remember those uncanny blob-like dolly mini images from 2022 that bore a vague resemblance to whatever you typed in being a big meme for a while back then. They looked like something you would reasonably expect a computer to produce, totally featureless faces, backrooms-esque scenes, incomplete anatomy. 3 years ago, this was the AI available to the public, good for producing images of Walter White in My Little Pony, and pretty much nothing else. Today, you can watch a video of bunnies bouncing on a trampoline and scroll past it completely unaware that it isn't real until someone points out minor inconsistencies in their movements. You can email a coworker and receive a response with a ChatGPT prompt at the top that they forgot to remove. Every Google search is answered with an AI overview first. Drive-thrus answer you with a perfectly smooth, lilted voice. Your cousin with a bachelor's degree can't make a grocery list without typing it into a bot first. AI is everywhere, and I mean everywhere, including the rural paradise of Pelican Town. A few weeks ago, my friend Tabby sent me a message about a Stardew Valley mod they had found while scrolling through Nexus. Mod websites are somewhat of a minefield in general, what with the hundreds of Abigail but with a massive rack mods. This one, however, was not about boobs. It was a dialogue expansion mod that promised infinite lines to run through for each and every character, with the ability to respond to their statements and carry out a full conversation with them. That's right, no more repetitive quips, no more pesky one-quote-a-day limits. Now you can talk to Leah for hours on end if it strikes your fancy. I mean, that sounds pretty fantastic, right? Endless lines, you'll never get bored. All it takes is one mod and an AI engine of your choice. And just maybe don't think about it too hard. That's a small price to pay, right? Tabby and I had a bitching session about how much of a virus AI was becoming and eventually moved on. Well, the conversation moved on. Unfortunately, I really didn't, and that's your problem now. Today, we are going to be talking about AI Stardew mods and why you maybe shouldn't do that. Let's hop into it, shall we? First of all, I am wholly against the use of generative AI, full stop. Even though a lot of people think I'm a robot because of the
tone of my voice,
I'm actually real, and I would probably sound a lot livelier if I was AI. This is to say that this video is not going to take a positive stance on AI. While I do encourage you to listen with an open mind if you're of a different opinion, I am also going to let you know right now that if you're mad at me, telling me that in the comments will not help you. ChatGPT will do a better job at telling you exactly what you want to hear than I ever could. Also, all of the footage of the AI mod that I use is from a demo reel. It would be a little weird if I said I was anti-AI and then went on to download and use the mod for footage. All of this AI containing footage will be clearly marked, and again, I did not generate it. Anyway, Stardew Valley's classic dialogue system is pretty straightforward. In the vanilla version of the game, you're able to talk to NPCs once a day, with predetermined quotes being pulled out as responses to the interaction. These quotes are selected based on your relationship with that NPC, the weather, the day of the week, the season, and your gender, among other things. Holidays and special interactions, like digging through the trash or giving a gift, have their own unique lines, some of which were expanded upon in recent updates to the game. These all come from a set pool of lines. Occasionally, a neighbor may ask you a question, but their reaction to your answer is also predetermined. As far as I can tell, there isn't an official count on how many quotes each character has, but I can tell you that eventually doing your daily chats with everyone around town becomes fairly repetitive and monotonous. And by eventually, I mean you'll probably start to recognize certain lines pretty early on. This is one of the biggest criticisms of the game, but one of the only major ones. The NPCs could use more dialogue. I and many other people have pointed this issue out before. It's not new, and it's not a non-issue either. Stardew is enough of a masterpiece that it's usually pretty easy to ignore the lines that you've heard before, but I can absolutely see why there's a desire to remedy it. That desire is, in theory, where this AI dialogue mod would come in. In an effort to not send anyone over to the creator of this mod to attack them, I'm going to avoid saying its name and instead call it iPad baby Stardew. If you're desperate to find it, you'll be able to on your own, but I'm doing what I can here. So, how does iPad baby Stardew work, you may be asking? Well, the mod connects to Google Gemini, an LLM or large language model, which generates an initial quote for any given NPC. The bot will then whip up 3 to 4 suggested responses, as well as an option to type in your own. The typed in responses don't seem to be shown in the demo reel at all. I don't think this feature was available when it dropped, but it's in the description. The AI will then continue the conversation, which will prompt you to reply again, and so on and so forth. The mod boasts that villagers will be able to remember past conversations and that all lines will be in character. In order to do this, the AI references a set of pre-written bios describing their personalities. If we strip away all of the pretty formatting in-game, dialogue basically runs like having a conversation with an LLM would normally if you told it to roleplay a certain way. If you've ever seen a screenshot of a character AI chat, it honestly reads very similarly to me. So, with this mod, you can now effectively have an ongoing back and forth with your best Stardew friend, or your spouse, or Lewis if you're into sadomasochism. You can tell Haley your greatest fears, or ask Robin to leave Demetrius for you, or ask Demetrius to leave Robin so you can have her. I'll be the first to admit that sounds kind of fun at first glance, right? So what's the problem with it? If you're involved with the discourse around AI, I'm sure you can predict at least a few of my talking points here, and that's frankly great. If not, that's cool too, thanks for listening. The LLM that this mod primarily uses, although it seems that you can connect it to others, is a part of Google's family called Gemini. If you don't know, an LLM or a large language model is what all of these big AI chatbots are. It's ChatGPT, it's Google Gemini, it's whatever the fuck. It's what it says on the tin, basically. It's an AI that has been trained on mountains of text to be able to learn a language and complete tasks that require language processing. To put it simply, you feed it content to study, and it uses that content to train itself to produce new-ish content with the same rules. Now, in order for the machine to do this, it requires 2 notable pieces, among others, of course. These pieces are content to be used as training material and power. Written works that can be used as that training material have to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is human authors. By authors, in this case, I mean both authors of books and poetry and blog posts and essays, and also people making Tumblr posts at 2 a.m. Most LLM descriptions will say in plain text that they have trained their models on publicly available internet data. This can mean documents, code, even fanfiction. And no, that's not me speculating. Archive of Our Own's database of fanfiction and artwork was scraped for AI use in May of this year. Anyway, this means that any literary work on the internet could have been used to train an LLM without the permission or knowledge of the author. Now, in theory, if an AI can learn a language and think up new thoughts in that language, you wouldn't necessarily see their output as plagiarism rather than inspiration. But AI cannot learn a language in the same way humans can. It simply recognizes structures and patterns and refines itself based on feedback. It is not creating anything, it's using already rendered thoughts and cadences to give you what you want. It doesn't manufacture building blocks or think of why they should be placed in a certain way. It follows an outline and places pre-made materials there. In the context of this mod, Google Gemini is not thinking thoughts as Sebastian for you or acting as an author trying to figure out what Sebastian would say. It's regurgitating a compound of millions of sentences from the internet that it thinks matches what it was told about who Sebastian is. Put a pin in this, we'll get back to it. The other big puzzle piece is power, which again you have probably heard a bit about before. Training and running AI systems uses a lot of energy and a lot of water. Now, a lot of things use large amounts of electricity and water, right? However, as AI becomes more and more prevalent, we're using these massive amounts of electricity and water on a huge scale. More data centers are being built to keep up with the demand, which pump out large amounts of CO2 emissions and electronic waste, which is a whole other thing. These computer systems made to train AI get really, really hot, which is where the water is required. We need to offset that heat. Obviously, we all know how the water cycle works. Water doesn't just disappear, but it does take time to go through the cycle. Lots of emissions plus putting strain on the water supply equals not so good. Anyway, AI bad for the environment, yada yada, everything's bad though, right? Why is iPad Baby Stardew worth talking about? What makes it different from just using ChatGPT? Well, you can argue that it's not, but I think it brings up an interesting question about how we consume games in general, especially indie games, and what we expect from them. Stardew Valley is particularly notable because it was developed by one single guy. It took years of detailed, hard, slow effort, and everything we see in the base game is the product of Eric Baroni's vision. It's a genuinely good game and a remarkable accomplishment at that. It has been a continuous labor of love since the day he started on the project, and he pushes out updates to refine it and better it even now. Happy surprise update announcement, by the way, wow. The game's story itself is the major elephant in the room here, a plot revolving around the rejection of an overstimulating capitalistic society that drains you of your humanity and moving to the country to return back to real connection. It's about getting away from this fake, automated way of living and finding a part of you that has been missing for so long. Now, you and I are both using screens right now. I am well aware of that. Nobody is pulling up to a farm in rural Kansas to experience Stardew in real life, I don't think. But the integration of generative AI into a game that rewards real human effort is a little odd, don't you think? To take all of those years of creative work and distill them into a bot that chops up character ideas and compacts them into lines with no meaning or thought behind them is a little dystopian, yeah? These AI quotes are not produced by a person who knows and loves these characters and wants to continue their story. They are produced by an emotionless machine that's been given a general idea of a character and wants to urge you to continue talking to it. The real kicker is that this mod isn't the first dialogue expansion mod, it's far from it. One of the most notable, canon-friendly dialogue expansion by Gizmo has been out since 2018 and adds over 4,000 lines of new dialogue written fully by humans. If you need more than that, and I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, it is time to start maladaptive daydreaming, babe, okay? It's time, that's too much. There have been creative, dedicated people offering supplements to the base game for years. Hell, Stardew Valley Expanded is a perfect example of that. These mods are a work of art. They were made out of a genuine love for the game and a desire to add more content to it. Plus, critiquing a game in certain areas is not necessarily a call to action. It's a way to use our brains to analyze something and give our own opinions on what does and doesn't work. It opens up an opportunity for discussions and a chance to hear different perspectives. Attaching an AI model to every problem is not productive. It discourages imagination by laying everything out for you. AI dialogue does not have meaning behind it. It can push forward biases, sure, but the gaps and implications of human writing are what get our brain turning and thinking. Human writing is shaped by experiences. AIs in their current state do not have those. Making up stories is what we're made for. That is lost when a machine does the thinking for you, all while guzzling water and siphoning artists' work. Okay, but objectively, is iPad Baby Stardew's dialogue good? Is it better than the human-made equivalent? What if it's so good it's worth a climate disaster? That's technically a matter of opinion, but to me, AI writing often comes across incredibly formulaic and stiff. It doesn't contain small quirks or hallmarks like human writing, which makes the entire reading experience so bland. It'll often look like it's using a thesaurus, it doesn't want to repeat itself, but it's reusing the same conversation templates over and over again, so it does that anyway. I mentioned that 12-minute demo reel of the mod on YouTube. I sat through it to see how it actually holds up. What this looks like in the mod is every character speaking in the exact same half-formal, polished way, with every comment trying to yes and you in order to keep the conversation going. It's a lot of text with no end goal other than to keep you talking. One of the biggest rules of writing character dialogue is that the interaction should serve a purpose, whether that's just to tell you more about the person in question or to further the plot. This dialogue does neither. It's using already available information to guess how a character character would speak and it has no real plot to refer back to. It's talking just to talk. It's not the AI's interpretation of the character in the same way a dialogue mod or fan fiction would be, because the AI cannot have a transformative interpretation of a character. It also seems to have a really weird focus on allowing you to have a side piece too. Anyway, TLDR, I think dialogue with no intention or human experience or emotion behind it is lackluster. Creativity, passion, effort, and commitment are why we have Stardew Valley today. The human urge to tell a story is the reason we have mods like Stardew Expanded and Ridgeside Village. Nothing Claude Sonnet 4 can produce could be made without humans, and it could never feel for these characters what you do. Don't let it take away your desire to imagine how Haley's story might continue, or what Zuzu's city might be like, or what Sandy did before working at the Oasis. This isn't everything I could say on the topic. In fact, I kept it really brief because I am not an expert. I did my best to explain these ideas, but I'm not good at it. Highly recommend Hank Green's AI videos, they're really good. But your brain is a muscle. You don't use it, you lose it. Everything is overwhelming and overstimulating and shitty these days. Write fanfiction, make Stardew Valley mods, daydream about your life with Sebastian. Listen to me, you do not need another outlet that feeds you slop, and it sure as hell does not need to be Stardew Valley. Take it slow and create real, imperfect art. You do not need a machine to enjoy life for you. It won't feel anything. That ends my crazy bitch rant for today. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, ? Thank you to all of my members. Your support is so appreciated. Stay safe, stay wonderful, my friends, and I will see you next time. Good. Bye.